Welcome back to the Purposeful You Summit, brought to you by Casa Productions. I am your host, Julie DeLucca-Collins. I am thrilled that you are here. If you're just joining us for panel number 6, I encourage you to go back and check out the other videos in which we have discussed some incredible topics with some amazing speakers, world-class speakers who are sharing from their heart, but they're creating some insightful, thought-provoking insights to how we can live, find our purpose, and create a ripple effect to touch the lives of others. I want to invite you now to tune in to our next speakers, because life is full of up and downs. And amidst the challenges in life, there is always a silver lining. We just have to pay attention. You too can find the silver lining even in the midst of despair. And it's a matter of being aware, stopping the noise from the outside. And our speakers now will be sharing some practical insight on how they found the silver lining in their life in the midst of all of these things. So we are discussing how to shift perspectives and find a more positive outlook. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you share, make sure you share Purposeful You with others. And welcome again, and here are our speakers. I bring you Kathy Taylor, Carmelita Chu, Rick Yee, the incomparable Brad Walsh, Kalina Green Siciliano, Kimberly Henry, and Lily McNamara. These are some of the phenomenal, cool dudes that have been a part of the Casa de Confidence podcast, the Confident You Radio Network, and most of all, a part of my universe. You know, in this world, we can't do it alone. So tune in and hear these incredible stories from the cool dudes and my friends, Kathy, Carmelita, Kalina, Kimberly, and Lily.
Hi, I'm Kathy Taylor, an embodiment and nervous system coach, where I empower female leaders who have lost touch with their core selves because they're trying so hard to do all the things, and they've even been really successful at it, but they're on the edge of exhaustion or burnout, and they've just lost touch with who they are and what they truly wanted, why they started their business, or why they're working so hard. All my life, I have been a horse lover. And when I look back on things, horses have been a thread throughout my life. But there was a time when I completely quit playing with them because I was so focused on trying to build my business and looking successful from the outside that I kind of gave up my core self in the process. I remember one day being at home, talking with my husband. Well, maybe I should say complaining to my husband about how many things I had to do and so many things and this, that, the other thing, and everything was a priority. And I was just, I had a list a million miles long, not just for my business, but for the household, taking care of our kids. We had 5 horses at the time, a couple of dogs and a cat. I just felt overwhelmed. And he said to me, "Why do you pressure yourself so hard? Why do you push yourself so much when you don't have to?" And in that moment, I didn't say it out loud, but man, that thought went, came through like a bullet train through my head. Who will I be if I don't put all this pressure on myself? I just couldn't believe that actually went through my mind so fast, and it was so powerful. I could not ignore it any longer. But I also didn't know what else to do besides keep trying and keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing. So I gave myself a few days off probably and just kept going and decided, well, let me just distract myself and I'll just get a new horse. The horse that I'd been riding had been retired for the most part, and I was looking for something else that I could go do, some new way to interact with my horses. Unfortunately, this was not the best way to go about things. And because we didn't have a very good relationship, we didn't have a good solid start to our relationship. About 1.5 years after I got him, he bolted and bucked, and I landed hard on the ground. My body was already stiff and tense because every time I got on him, I was anxious. He was this young, athletic racehorse, ex-racehorse. And I was not so young and athletic as I had been before when I bought my previous horse. So it took 3 years of pain and rehab before I stumbled into embodiment and neurosomatic intelligence to heal my body. In that first embodiment webinar, I experienced, it was really interesting, not anything I was expecting, but I experienced leaving myself behind. And so what that was like, we focused on ourselves and we brought our attention back to us and felt what that felt like. And then we brought ourselves forward and focused on what was out there in front of us, focused on other. And that's when I realized that all of my doing was not actually connected to who I was. It was just connected to who I wanted to be or how I wanted to look. I was trying really hard, but I wasn't connected to myself. Maybe just parts of myself, but certainly not all of myself. It was my ego self trying really hard. And then when I discovered neurosomatic intelligence, this is directly working with the nervous system, where we take a physical assessment that of your body, something you can or can't do. We do a neurosomatic drill, which are really simple things like tongue circles or ear pulls, infinity walks, super, super, super simple things. But because I now know how to work it with my nervous system, I can choose the drills that work for me the best. So I assess, I do a drill, and I reassess. And that will tell my body how I'm doing, how I'm really feeling on the inside. Not what I think is okay and safe, but what my body truly feels is safe. And if you've ever heard of the book or read the book, The Body Keeps the Score, you know that all of our experiences are stored in our body. Our patterns are stored in our body. The patterns that we have from the time we're really, really young are stored there. And that's why we have procrastination and people pleasing and anxiety and all those kinds of things that get in the way of ourselves. Perfectionism, they get in the way of us becoming who we truly are. So I get to combine these two, this embodiment, which comes from the bottom up of the nervous system, and the neurosomatic intelligence drills, which come from the top down of the nervous system. And we meet in the middle. And it is amazing how rooted and anchored I feel when I'm doing these things, how it makes the things that are going on around me, the chaos that's around me, doesn't have nearly the effect on me, because the chaos that's in me has been calmed and regulated. So ultimately, it's about learning to regulate your nervous system from the inside out. And the other thing I wanted to say is, when it comes to emotions, our body and our emotions, the shape of our body, or the shape that we put our body in, and our emotions are intricately intertwined. Meaning, it's really hard to be sad when you're cheering someone on. And it's really hard to convince anyone that you're really, really happy if you're sitting there with this forlorn look on your face. And you could even have a happy look on your face, but if what's going on really inside your body is sad and depressed and not moving, other people's nervous systems pick that up. So from this embodied perspective, if we can learn how to play with, do we need some more confidence and maybe stand up a little bit straighter? Do we need to be a little softer and more compassionate to ourselves? And can we almost create a cradle or an enveloping of our own self in our own body? and have some compassion for that, those become things that we sense and we feel. And then our body, which actually already knows this, can have a conscious awareness of of this felt sense. And then it's able to actually choose it more consciously later on. So for example, when you've got a client call and you're making a presentation, instead of feeling all nervous, like, oh my gosh, what are they going to think of me? What am I going to do? Am I going to say all the things right? You can be calm, contained, and within your own body, occupying your own body, and bring that to the meeting or to, for example, this presentation. And people will feel whether you're grounded, whether you're talking a million miles a minute and everything's going on. And you can really start to sense things in a different way. So learning to work with your nervous system is really, really important from both the bottom up, from this feeling and felt sense perspective, and also from the top down, from a thinking, cognitive, how can I do things? How can I shape my body in a way? Your body affects your emotions affect your body and your state. So when we can integrate this intuition and this intellect, then we have this connection to ourself, where we can take up the space that we're meant to take up, where we can be truly full of ourselves. Because if we're not full of ourselves, then who are we full of, right? That's the whole idea. It's like, let's be full of ourselves. All these patterns are held in the body when we recognize them and can practice what they are, practice what we want them to be, and then practice shifting them and changing them in different situations. Then you're able to integrate your intellect and your intuition and feel regulated. When you're connected to yourself, then you feel this connection to the rest of the world. And I truly believe that when we're connected to ourselves, this is the way we heal the world. Heal ourselves, heal someone else, heal someone else, heal someone else, and it just goes on. But we have to be healthy first. So I hope I've inspired you to be full of yourselves in the very best way, to learn to get into your body, play with your nervous system so that it will be on your side, so that you have this mind and body connection.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carmelita, or Cat 2, and I am thrilled to be here. Today, I'm going to share my thoughts on healthy silver linings, how to grasp the good without tipping into toxic. Imagine waking up every day with a powerful tool in your back pocket, something that can reshape your reality, smooth the pathways to productivity and success, and transform your mood and outlook on life. Sounds kind of awesome, right? Well, for me, that tool is the healthy silver lining. And today we're going to dive headfirst into what that is, the one key perspective shift you need to implement, and the gifts you might uncover once you do. But first, we can't talk about healthy silver linings without a short detour into demystifying healthy positivity versus toxic positivity. Now, I'm big into positive psychology, so the phrase silver linings doesn't rub me the wrong way. But you'll probably notice that silver linings, positivity, positive thinking, and other terms like that make some people skeptical, almost like they all need an asterisk with a footnote to make it clear that we don't mean the kind of positivity that squashes emotions and is out of touch with reality. In other words, I'm not talking about toxic positivity. Several years ago, I can recall a Brene Brown video about empathy being shown at work during a diversity, equity, and inclusion training. And there was this dear character that, quote unquote, silver lines the fox character's pain and sadness. The fox says, I had a miscarriage. The deer character says, at least you know you can get pregnant. The fox says, I think my marriage is falling apart. The deer says, at least you have a marriage. How cringy, right? Now, I don't support this way of silver lining of things. This attitude is toxic. Toxic positivity dismisses negative emotions and responds to them with deflective, empty reassurances rather than empathy. Instead of dealing with uncomfortable emotions in a real way, toxic positivity tries to bypass them, sweep them under the rug. This causes disconnect with others and within ourselves. On the other hand, healthy positivity doesn't shy away from the full spectrum of our emotions. It encourages us to embrace the highs and lows. It recognizes the complexities of life, the importance of authenticity. It doesn't judge. Instead of hiding emotions like clothes that never get washed, it launders them and hangs them out in the sun to dry. It creates space for vulnerability and genuine connection and growth. So you know you're coming from a healthy place, not a toxic place, when you acknowledge and accept what's happened and make space for all the feelings, positive or negative, that exist. And you sit with them as long as you need to. You aren't in denial when things are tough. You also know that not everything is bad and things can change for the better. And that's where healthy silver linings come in. When you're in a headspace of acceptance and you're emotionally processing in a way that supports your well being, you can look for the silver linings. Healthy silver linings are the gifts that are born from hardship, setbacks, tragedy. Now, at the beginning of this, I was mentioning that there's one key perspective shift that helps you find these gifts. It's like putting on readers for the first time after months or maybe years of denial and holding menus and phones farther and farther away from your face. It makes everything clearer and easier. Here's the reframe: every challenge is an opportunity. Treat this like a mantra. Repeat it when you're confronted with a tough situation. Every challenge is an opportunity. When you start to see challenges not as a burden or woe is me, but a chance at something potentially good, something you get to do, it starts to hold new potential. You'll start to see things in a new light. You'll see the positive in the midst of the negative. Shirzad Shamin is the author of the New York Times bestselling book, Positive Intelligence. If you're in the least bit curious about positive psychology and the power of your mind, I highly recommend it. There are so many concepts in positive intelligence that feel insightful, but one that really resonates and dovetails well with silver linings is the 3 gifts technique. The 3 gifts are the gift of knowledge, the gift of power, and the gift of inspiration. The book goes into greater depth for each of these, but I'm going to share with you my personal interpretations of what each of these means. To find the gift of knowledge, you could ask, what did I learn from this? And you'll likely find some bit of wisdom you'll take with you as you move forward in life. It reminds me of a Chinese proverb that goes, a fall into the ditch makes you wiser. Of course, now you know where the ditch is, so you can avoid it. But the book encourages you to press a little further and basically ask, what would I like to learn from this that will outweigh this pain and discomfort? What could I learn where the payoff will be greater than what this is costing me now? An example I can think of in my own life is my divorce. While my ex-husband and I had our fights and our problems, and we were in couples therapy for a couple of years, I didn't see our divorce coming. It was nothing I had ever wanted. And yet, after a series of unfortunate events, there I was signing divorce papers with a 2 and a 4-year-old in tow. And I learned so much from that experience. I learned that I could single parent. I learned just how strong I was. I learned how to ask for more flexibility at work, how to ask for help, do a number of things on my own. That's real learning. But what knowledge would I need to gain so the payoff was greater than the pain I was going through? For me, I realized eventually that this was an opportunity to redefine myself more authentically. All the roles that I played, the expectations that weren't mine, the unhealthy patterns we had fallen into, the boundaries that I didn't set or the ones I did set and he kept crossing, I didn't have to keep carrying that. I could reinvent myself. I could choose with intentionality. And I could use what I knew didn't work for him or me to build something that did work for me and maybe someone else down the line. So knowing I could build a better version of myself in the future and taking the time, having the time to figure out what that looked like for me was worth the cost of the divorce. The second gift is the gift of power. Shamin suggests that when something isn't going our way, we see the problem as a weight in the gym. What positive trait is this building? How should I grow in order for me to lift this well? It reminds me of some of the games I've seen my daughters play, where they get a strength boost or extra lives when a certain event occurs. What trait could get a mega boost from this event? If you're a parent, I think parenting is an obvious arena where you might see powers grow. There's so much involved with raising a human. One of my daughters is neurodiverse, and for a while, it was a struggle to find her the support she needed. We navigated many emotional and mental health ups and downs. And I remember realizing over and over, you never really fully know what someone's going through. Everyone has their own story. And that gave me so much empathy for her and other parents and kids. I was strengthening my power of empathy. And the third gift is the gift of inspiration. Is there something you might do that you wouldn't have if not for this problem? Does the event motivate you to want to do something that you wouldn't have done if this negative event didn't happen? I can think of a number of celebrities in this space that help us understand this concept, like Michael J. Fox. After his Parkinson's diagnosis, he eventually started a foundation, and that foundation, 30-ish years later, is now the largest nonprofit funder of Parkinson's disease research. They have over $1 billion of research projects to date. It's amazing. You might notice inspired action on a smaller scale or local scale too. Politicians, they'll see a problem and run for office. Or maybe seeing news stories about the invasion of Ukraine led you to donate to a nonprofit. Or I have friends. Her name is Kanika Ray Wong. She wrote her own children's book about first periods after noticing the lack of books that talk about it in an accessible way that all genders and ages can relate to and appreciate. And I don't think that inspired action has to have altruistic underpinnings either. 9 months after I remarried, my husband went through a tough cancer surgery right at the start of the pandemic. March 2020, everything about the world and our lives made us realize that we did not want to take the future for granted. So we packed up the kids and road schooled them for a year while driving a slow loop around the US. We racked up 37 states, 2 Canadian provinces, visits with over 200 family members and friends, and countless priceless memories. These are all examples of the gifts of inspiration. All these gifts are healthy silver linings. So as I wrap up my thoughts here, I'm going to ask you to do something. If you have a pen and paper handy, write this down. If you don't, it's okay. Just try to commit this to memory and write this down later. First, I want you to write down challenge equals opportunity. And then write down gifts of knowledge, power, inspiration. Over the course of the next few days, try to think of challenges in your life, problems, disappointments, and see if you can identify what gifts you gleaned from them. You might find one, you might find more than one. Just look back and stay curious. Decide to be better, not bitter. Have faith that everything that falls apart will eventually fall into place. And remember, there are always healthy silver linings. They're there for us if we choose to look for them. Thank you so much.
So my marriage is falling apart. I just lost my job. My boss sucks. My money is in the dumps. I'm stressed. I have anxiety. I've gone through depression. My relationships are failing. I've been abused. I've been abandoned, been betrayed, neglected, rejected. I've had loved ones die. What the hell's the silver lining in all of this? What the hell are you trying to talk about today? My name is Rick. I'm the creator of the Warrior's Way mindset, and I'm going to get in today really, really fast. I'm going to give you tools and training to do some of the toughest fights. That's the battlefield upside here. Let's get in today. First, I'm doing an awareness training, so I need you to take notes. I'm going to go fast. You're going to have questions because I can't go in depth on all of this. I don't have enough time. So feel free in the Q&A to go in on me. Now, next, I'm going to go through the answers, and then I'm going to reverse engineer this so you get to a solution, the silver lining. How do we find this and all these terrible things that keep happening? First, I'm going to give you the answers. Then we'll go backwards. The answer is you're always right. Now, some of you are like, oh, well, I'm liking this guy already. Okay, yeah, I'm always right. I like that. You're always right. This gets into your belief systems, limiting beliefs, or if you truly believe and have faith in yourself or what it is that your cause is or whatever you believe, you're right. You're always right. As a Henry Ford quote, when he said, if you believe you can or you believe you can't, either way, you are correct. You're right. Always right. That sounds good, right? Not if you're creating these self-fulfilling prophecies of failure. So let's look at like the 4 different ways that we've got here just for belief systems, and then we'll start putting in the other pieces. Now, the one that's most common is going to be the victim mentality. You guys know this one. Oh, everything happens to me. Everything's always happening to me. Poor me. Everything happens to me. I lost my job. My marriage fell apart on me. My relationships are all going wrong. Everything's happening to me. We know that one, happening to me. Next one, this is going to be where we find the silver lining piece, and then we're going to go beyond this. This is things are happening for me. We know this one. I'm not making new stuff. Everybody here has heard, is it happening to you, happening for you? I'm sure you've all listened to Tony Robbins if you're even here. So you know this one. It's either happening to me or it's happening for me. And this means I can find the opportunities. We'll get further into this piece. The next one is higher level of acceptance. This is the observer. This means I acknowledge things happened. I don't have to have this wild opinion, or I don't have to have this huge judgments, or I don't have to add to this. That just happened. And the last one is when you get to the creator mode. And this is when you realize that things aren't happening just to you or for you or just happening, but they're happening through you. And this is when I can create my own destiny and start getting into those prophecies that I can fulfill. Let's go a little bit further now. Let's go back into the next piece where it goes from belief systems to our feelings. Now, once you get to your feelings, I'm not telling you how to feel. These are yours. You get to work through the feelings part because there's no right and wrong way. Right and wrong when it comes to this is fully subjective. The only way that you could ever be right or wrong is based on what you want or in your goals. If you don't know what you're aiming for and you aim at nothing, you're going to hit it every time. I think that was Zig Ziglar. You aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. How many of you are going, I don't know what I'm trying to do, but I'm still going to argue right and wrong? Well, if you're aiming at nothing, how can you be right? But if you're trying to lose weight and eating 6,000 calories a day, that's going to go against your goals, in which case, for your goal's sake, that's wrong. But if you're trying to gain a whole bunch of weight, well, then that would be correct. Do you see what I mean? Right and wrong becomes subjective. If you want a healthy, happy marriage, or if you want to have a good job, or if you want to have a successful business, if you want to have, good dynamics in your life, if you want to heal past wounds, the behaviors and the choices that you're going to make around the feelings that you have will only be right or wrong based on what you want. And if you don't know what you want, don't be upset that you're not getting it. You don't even know what it is. We have to go through the feelings part on this one. That's in you. But next, we have to understand where most of us are even trapped. In order to get to a silver lining, what is making it so the day is so cloudy? This gets into the basics for grief systems. Now, I didn't make up grief systems. That's been around for a long time. But I am going to explain it in a different way. And no, I'm not going to get into the enemy within conversations, which is fear, excuses, doubt, and distractions. I'm not going to get into those, but those are deep topics. So we're going to keep those out of it for now and just go through grief. And that's going to be denial, bargaining, anger, depression. Those are the basic ones, but the goal for all of those is to get to acceptance. I am going to give you a different piece, and I am going to target one of them, probably the nastiest one out of all of them. So I'm going to target that one in a minute. First, let's go through the understanding. I made a little diagram here, and I'm also going to explain why it works. So when you talk about when it goes through this, I just drew this up really quick. We got denial, let's see them backwards. Denial, bargaining, anger, and then depression. People think you have to go in like this circle. I have to go through. This is how you get stuck. The way that it really works is each one has to be addressed to acceptance. Each one has its own path. When you go through the sadness aspect and getting it to the acceptance piece, when you go through your anger and the 3 different categories of what just got you triggered, that has to go into acceptance. When you go from bargaining and all of the different fantasies of the rose-colored glasses that you wear to try to make something okay when it's not okay, has to be accepted for the reality of what isn't even possible and what is. And then the denial, which is our war with what even is the one we're going to attack a little bit today, because this is the one that can be dressed up as a silver lining, but it isn't. It's a recipe for disaster. It's a false narrative, and it does end up causing more problems. So when we understand we're in loss, I lost my marriage, I lost my job, I lost my money, I lost my friendships, I've lost my dignity, I've lost my honor, I've lost my loyalty, I've lost my best friend or my mom to death or whatever may have happened. When there's a loss that we go through, every loss does have meaning and lesson to it. Doesn't mean it's a good thing. It just means that it's there. So sometimes the storm clouds are still going to be stormy, but it doesn't mean that there isn't opportunity. So we're going to get into the next 4 pieces here. This is where you have to look at these parts. And then we're going to go in. I'm going to give you more tools here. Okay. These are all racing to acceptance. We're going to get through these to acceptance. First is honor. Next is meaning. Next is control. And then truth. Let's at least address these, okay? First, let's go to the hard one. Boom. The one that no, I'd hate that one. Let's go right into the tough one. Let's go into death. And I'm not just talking about death of my 91-year-old grandfather. No. Let's talk about the tough death of a child. Death of a spouse, death of a pet, death of your best friend, the unexpected deaths. Those ones are the roughest. And I have buried best friends. I have the love of my life, my little dogs. They were killed. I had terrible accidents that happened. There are stories that happen through this where I have also worked with people who have had to bury children. These are tough to be able to find a silver lining. There's no benefit to this. This is nothing but tragedy. But throughout each thing, first we start with the mind side of this, is understanding that mortality is inevitable. The Stoics would say that every day we know that death is going to come. We know this. It's not a logic thing that's in the way. It's the heart. It's the spirit that struggles with this. This is where we stay stuck in this loss system. If I can't believe this is the reality to it. And if only I would have done this, they'd still be here. Or if only I could have this, then I could have controlled that scenario. If only I could have had that one more conversation, then they would know more about whatever. That's bargaining. Then we're going into the anger. And this is because someone was taken from you, or the loss itself. It's unfair. It's unjust. And all of the unmet needs that you have are never going to be met. Oh, it's just so angry. We have to go through acceptance on those pieces, and then the sadness of it all. And damn it, it's so sad. The broken heart and the sadness that comes from these kinds of loss. But then we have to go into the honor aspect and the purpose behind what we had when we had those people in our lives. And on one hand, we can look at how much we no longer have in the future or in the present, but being able to truly honor the life that was touched in ours and be able to live our lives to honor those lives that have touched ours. Let's get into that piece where you say, if my friend were still here, how would they say they want you to live your life? If your mom or your dad or, your even, I don't want to get at a child because I don't know the age, but it's just a saying, if you could honor their life by living yours to the fullest, do you think they would want you to just stay depressed and waste your minutes in bed and not live your life and to be happy and fulfilled? They no longer have any more minutes, but you do. And how would you honor their life? By fulfilling yours when they don't have it anymore. How can you live for them? How can you honor them with you? We can find meaning and purpose in having somebody who's touched our souls and then living to our fullest in their honor. Now let's get to the meaning part of things. This is meaning is the learning. This is the connecting itself to where every loss is a lesson. And even when it comes to things that are bad, like a lost job or it gets into even the loss of a loved one, there's so much we learned and so much we gained and so much that we had, even in the Shakespearean better to love and lose or better have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. It's true. Get in deep, and it's better to have had it. You get to have that fulfillment that was there, even if it was lost. You got to experience it and understand the happiness in those blips in our life that are only meant to come for a short amount of time, and to truly honor and find meaning in those. Now let's look at the next part of meaning, and this gets into opportunity. More silver lining. Where's the opportunities? Now this comes in from the jobs or the money or anxiety or relationships or abuse. There's a mentality I heard from a guy named Chris Brady. He was a speaker. He was very, very good. Now, Chris Brady, he's multimillionaire, so he did very successful for himself. And he talked about the mentality of the way that people who are successful and the way that people who have a failure mentality, what's different? He's like, it's not more arms, it's not more legs, it's not more eyes. There's no physical advantage. The only difference is the way that they think about things or they see things. Give an example. Let's say toothpaste. You live with a family member who like always loses the toothpaste. I have one of these. You live with a family member who like the cap on the toothpaste cap is gone. Like you're like, where is this? What is going on? You have the always happening to me mentality. God, nobody ever does what I want. This is always killing me. I never find where it is. The crust on this top of the toothpaste, I hate it so much. My life sucks. This is the worst, right? But if you take that same exact scenario and have it with someone who looks for opportunity or success mindset, it looks like they're everywhere because they're like, oh, the toothpaste cap, gosh, this thing, we're always losing it. And if it would just stay on there, like I could just click it open and just close it so I didn't have to chase this thing down all the time. Wait a second. If I could just click it open and close it, if I just change the top of this, now I become a contender. That's actually a really good idea. And they take that opportunity to be able to improve something. And now they become like the competition in this field. Now they became like, wow, now they're making a good product, or they sell their patent and they take care of their family another way. The opportunity was always there. It's just, were we blocking it by the way that we saw how things happen? In my first book, I write about how if there's a car crash, one person would be like, look at how everything terrible is happening to me. And another person would say, this could have been the last moment of my life. And how much did I love and appreciate those around me if this was my last minute? You know, this is where we get to have that presence in the present again, because we realize that every moment in the present is a gift. It's called the present. So then we have to get into that causality. And causality gets into every choice. Now leads us to another choice. That leads us to another set of choices. That leads us to more choices. That leads us to more choices. And if you really want to get deep, you can start going back to, what if you just didn't go on that date with your husband or wife? What if you would have skipped that day? Where would your life be? What if you didn't go to that job, that interview, that thing that you fought so hard for and you were there for years? What if you didn't do that? Who would you have met? What would you have done? Where would you have gone? All of your choices from that one choice spin off into all of these decisions that lead us down a path. And that path is built into a system of what we call control. I get to make the choice, and everything around us is all about how we choose to handle each scenario. We make decisions every single day. A lot of it is on autopilot. Well, this gets us over into control. The control is seeing the opportunities and having the awareness of what it is. And I want to give you some control back. I want to give you some tools here before you guys go. And so the control part of it is, first off, understanding the serenity prayer aspect of it. This isn't new information. Accepting the things that are not in your control. Being able to have the courage to change the things that are, and then the wisdom to know the difference between the two. That's not new. We know that part. How do we use it? All right, let's get into it. Quick math question. I want you guys to get your thinking caps on. Math time. All right? Do the math. Right now, if you had to give yourself a percentage for your survival rate for all the things that you've ever been through, what is your survival rate so far out of all the things you've ever had to experience in your life? Some of you, I'll give a second. Some of you got it very quickly. Good job. Good mathematicians here. If you have the correct answer, you should have 100%, because you wouldn't be here listening if you had lower than 100% survival rate for everything you've ever gone through in your life. This should be showing you your resilience and your fortitude, but let's go ahead and challenge the tools. Now, let's look and see what is your ability to be able to handle any scenario, any choice, any loss, anything that comes up. Let's see if you have any of the tools to be able to survive through some more. So get your checklist ready. I'm going to go ahead and give you a list. You check it off and see, do I have any of these? Okay. Now check it off first. Problem solving skills. If any of you have problem solving skills, give yourself, I got that one. Give yourself a tally. I don't care how you do this. Problem solving skills. I can solve problems. Creativity. I've gotten outside of the box before. I know how to find a creative method to figure out how to make this work. I'll figure it out. I got some creativity in here. Give yourself a check mark. Resourcefulness. I don't have it, but I know I can Google it or find it, or I can, figure out a way to get it. I have some form of resourcefulness in one way, shape, or form. Next one is support system. I can call anybody. It doesn't have to be 100 people. It can be 2 or 1. I know I could call somebody for advice or for help or for any type of support, and I know that people would have my back in at least a little bit of a way. Next one is having a healthy outlet on your mind, body, spirit, on your heart. Being able to have some form of outlet so you can take the pressure off, so you can go ahead and think a little bit more clearly about what it is you have to overcome. If you have any outlet, I don't care if it's working out, if it's writing, meditating, praying, crying it out, I don't care. Do you have positive outlet systems? Next, any type of faith in anything more than you. It doesn't have to be God. It can be universe, law of attraction, law of vibrations. I don't care. Meditate on it. If you believe there is certainty and faith that there is more to this existence than us being at the center of it, this means there is a power in you that's going to help you with that certainty that you'll get through this. If you believe that there is a higher power of energy in this universe, call it God, call it anything you want. If you believe that exists, give yourself a check. The next one, last one. After all of the traumas and loss and damage and hurt and pain and everything that we've ever gone through, do you have more experience now than when you had to go through the hardest things you've ever gone through in your life? Now, if you've checked off even 2 or 3 of these, you're ready for most scenarios. Now, some of you just had, I got all of these. Talk about blessed. Talk about blessed. This means you're ready for any scenario. Why are we so stressed and why are we so stuck all the time in how we think it should be when you have so many tools at your disposal for when you know what it is? There's opportunity all around this thing. So now if you're using these tools in any scenario, this gets us over to truth. Now, truth is a subjective statement. People don't understand this because we want to argue truth all the time. But Marcus Aurelius says that everything that we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything that we see is a perspective and not the truth. And so I've also had trainings. Let's see, I have one right here. Training where I say, do you see this? Is this a 6? Or is it a B? Or is it a music note? What do you see this? When I look at it from this way, though, to me, this looks like a 9, but to you, it's a 6. And we both would be correct. And anybody who said any other things would also be correct too in what they see. But they'd also be wrong to the other people, which means everybody then is right. But then in accordance to everybody else, they're wrong. So this is the argument that we have based on a perception. This is just the way that I see it. That's what I believe it is. And from your point of view, that's true. But from other point of views, it's not true. This gets us right back to our belief systems of you're always right. You're always right. What you believe it is, you will make sure it is correct. But are you going through any of these tools? Are you using any of your awareness through your grief cycle? And don't get caught up in denial. Denial is the piece where I look at all of this and I call it acceptance. I call it, I got this. I call it, I've figured it out. It is what it is. Don't worry about it. It is what it is. And we don't address anger. We don't address sadness. We don't address the pieces of us that we have to go through to truly, truly find honor, meaning, and acceptance, learn lessons and grow from every single loss. If you really believe everything is happening to you, then you will live a life as a victim. If you believe that these are all happening for opportunity and for connection and for meaning, and so I can honor the love and the life of the things that happened with me and for me, then we have that too. Some things, they just happened and we have to serenity prayer that thing. And then some things are happening through us, and we can use our tools to create and form the destiny, to find our own silver linings and even the hardest losses. Thank you, warriors.
Hello, everybody. My name is Brad Welsh. I want to start off by saying, first of all, thank you very much to Julie for inviting me. I was honored and surprisingly surprised, I guess, to have been invited and asked to speak at the Purposeful You Summit. And it is an absolute honor to have been asked to speak here. So thank you, Julie. I wanted to start off by saying thank you for the invitation. I am absolutely honored to be part of the summit and to share my entrepreneurial journey, or part of my entrepreneurial journey, and speaking on the topic of finding the silver lining. My name is Brad Welsh. I am the host, founder, and producer of the Empowerography podcast. This platform was created to provide a space to help elevate women and amplify their voices through sharing their stories. Now, I've had the absolute honor and pleasure of interviewing over 500 women who have all shared their stories on the Empowerography podcast platform of inspiration, overcoming adversity, finding the silver lining, among many, many other hosts of topics of discussion. It's basically a platform for women to share their journeys and their stories. Of course, we also talk about the beautiful light that they put out into the world through the work they do, but the most important piece is sharing their stories. And finding the silver lining has been a topic that has been reoccurring throughout my conversations with all of these incredibly inspirational women. So it is an absolute pleasure to be here to speak about finding the silver lining. And I think it's a necessary thing for us as human beings to do, is to find the silver lining in every situation. And I honestly believe that there is a silver lining in every single situation that happens for us in our lives. And that's the key there. You notice that I shifted the language around that and said happens for us, not to us, which I think is a piece of that ability to be able to find the silver lining in situations. And just that little shift in language and realizing, having the self-awareness to realize that the things that happen in our lives are not happening to us, they're happening for us. They are all part of the experiential journey that we're going through, whether that be in life, in entrepreneurship, whatever the case may be. It's that shift in languaging. Now, when I speak about finding the silver lining, I'm going to use one of the biggest examples that I've experienced, and I know that all of us around the world have collectively experienced this, and that was COVID. It was a very difficult thing to go through for a lot of people. When I reflect back and thinking about COVID, although there was a lot of personal loss, financial loss, job loss, all of the things that so many people around the world lost due to COVID, I think being able to, again, find the silver lining in that by taking a step back and looking at the whole situation as there was a lot of good that came out of that horrible situation. Look at the way we communicate with each other now. We're utilizing the tools to virtually, just like this summit. The summit's virtual. These tools are available to us. They were available before COVID, but we weren't utilizing them to the degree that we are. So that was a silver lining that came out of COVID. Relationships were built and created out of COVID. I mean, I was communicating with women and people on the other side of the world that I never connected with or never spoke with. That is a huge silver lining. Businesses were built. People shifted their businesses. I had to shift my business. Although I lost one business, I lost my photography business because I couldn't shoot during that time that COVID was happening. I was able to, and I don't like using this word, but pivot or shift my business. And the Empowerography podcast was reborn and reignited out of COVID. That would not have happened had COVID not come along, or might not have happened had COVID not come along and basically forced my hand to shut down my photography business, because I obviously couldn't book photo shoots during a time where we had to practice social distancing and we weren't allowed to be in groups of people or anything, gatherings like that, or be in close proximity with others. It forced my hand. I had to shut down my business. But as a result of me shutting down my business, the podcast Empowerography was reborn. It was reignited as a result of that. And I have created so many incredible friendships and relationships with people around the world because of COVID. That was the silver lining. That was one of the silver linings for me. I was able to build and grow. We were able to build and grow this Empowerography community that now shares stories globally of women around the world who are doing incredible things. And I get to shine a light on these women who are doing these amazing things. This all came out of a horrible situation that the world was going through, all collectively at the same time. So I think being able to realize that this happened for me, this was my silver lining. Empowerography got to grow to what it is today. And there's still so much more growth ahead of us, ahead of the Empowerography community, ahead of the podcast. But that little pivotal mindset shift of being able to, first of all, take a step back and look in at the situation and not play the victim and think, oh man, my photography business is shut down. What am I going to do now? I don't know what to do. I'm screwed. I don't have an income. I don't have this. I don't have that. And playing the victim and looking at the negative side of things. But being able to shift the perspective, shift the mindset, and look at the positive and create something positive. There was a lot of negativity going on in the world. And I just got into the headspace where I wasn't going to let that plague my mind and get in and start that hamster wheel of negativity and let those gremlins overtake my mind. Instead, I shifted and realized, wait a minute, I started the podcast in 2019. I had to stop it because my photography business picked up. But reflecting back, think, okay, wait a minute. Yes, my photography business shut down, but I can reignite the podcast, step into that and bring that back and put positivity out into the world, put something good out there, which is exactly what was needed at the time, was the positivity and putting something good out into the world for others to help uplift and cheer them up through sharing the stories of these incredible women. So although it was incredibly hard to shift, it was a necessary thing. And so much good came out of it. Like I said, relationships, friendships, and the fact that I get to highlight women who are doing incredible things and have conversations with these women and share their stories, highlight them, shine a light on women who are change makers, who are doing amazing things in the world. That is the silver lining out of COVID for me. Yes, my photography business shut down, but I was able to do this. How incredible is that? I mean, it's just a matter, and I don't mean to say that lightly. It is just a matter of shifting your mindset, because we all know how hard that can be, especially when you're not in the right headspace or in a dark place where it's hard to pull yourself out. But being able to go within and realize, okay, I can go two ways with this. I can either stay stuck in that victim mindset and think, oh, what the hell, I'm screwed. What am I going to do? Or be able to take a step outside and look in and say, okay, I've got this I can work with. I got that I can work with. I've got to shift and figure out what I'm going to do. I have to do something. And that was it for me, stepping into this. And as a result of that, stepping back into the podcast venue or arena, I have met so many incredible people. Opportunities have come my way. This opportunity came my way because of the podcast, because I had Julie as a guest on my podcast and we stayed connected. And that connection, that relationship that was built as a result of the Empowerography podcast led me to this opportunity to be here speaking to you today about finding the silver lining. And so many other relationships have happened as a result of this Empowerography podcast. I got an opportunity to become a best-selling author. I got an opportunity to become a 2-time best-selling publisher where I brought women together to share their stories. I was able to do that because of the podcast, because of a woman I had on my show who owned a publishing company. And so many other amazing things have happened like this as a result of the Empowerography podcast and the birth of that. Don't get me wrong, they didn't start happening right away. It took work, consistency, and dedication. Also, the self-work, not just the work with the podcast, but working on myself. I have grown so much as a human being, as a man, as a person, as a result of stepping into this and finding the silver lining and shifting my business and shifting into the podcast. The best part of all of this, I have to say, have been the relationships, hands down, the relationships and friendships that have been created and built. So that's what finding the silver lining can do for you. So I guess really I did find one. There have been many silver linings along the way, but this is probably the biggest one for me. I lost my grandmother. I also lost my father during the time of COVID. Two profound losses in my life as a result of one overarching thing in my life that I was able to shift and find the silver lining to, where this has led to so many other things. Like I said, this opportunity to speak here. I've had multiple other opportunities to speak at virtual summits, become an author, become a publisher, and all of these other incredible things. So I urge you, when something happens in your life, an occurrence that you think, oh my gosh, this can't get any worse. What could possibly be worse than this? Take a step back and examine the situation. Look within yourself. The answers are all there within you. Shift your mindset. And again, that's not to say it's easy. It takes work. But if you do that self-work, if you work on you, it will make that shift in mindset to realize that this is happening for you and not to you. And that's the key. It's happening for you, not to you. It will make things so much more manageable or easier to handle. And it will be therefore easier to find the silver lining in whatever those situations are that come up in your life. Because I can guarantee you, every situation that occurs in your life, there is a silver lining. It's a matter of taking a minute to pause, or taking the time to pause, look at the situation, reflect on it, go within to find the answers, and you will undoubtedly find the silver lining in every situation that occurs in your life. I promise you that. Again, it's not easy. It takes a lot of work, but I believe in you and I know you can do it. We all have the strength and the power within us and the resilience to do that. And if you're able to do that, you will see the silver lining in every situation that occurs in your life. Therefore, leading you to doing and accomplishing incredible things, because you are capable, you are enough, you are capable of doing anything in this life. It's about shifting the mindset and finding the silver lining in those situations and realizing that life is happening for you, not to you. Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed my perspective. Julie, thank you for having me as a panelist at the Purposeful You conference virtual summit. I appreciate you. I appreciate you all taking the time to watch my talk. I hope you found it insightful, valuable. I would love to hear from you. If you have any input on my talk, if you have any thoughts, or share your situations where you found the silver lining, I would love to hear from you. Thank you all so very much. Take care and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Hi, my name is Kalila Green Siciliano. I am a mom. I am a doula. I am a surrogate, and I am a pregnancy loss survivor. I got married in 2010, and I had people warning me left and right all the time. I know you want to get pregnant right away. I know that you have wanted to be a mom your entire life. Just be wary that you might not have an easy time getting pregnant. You might not have an easy time staying pregnant. And all those warnings sort of brushed over my shoulder, went in one ear, out the other. And I got pregnant very easily. My husband and I had our first child almost 9 months to the day of when we got married. And everything was perfect about it. I thought that being pregnant was my superpower. And my friends even commented, wow, you are made to be pregnant. So it was never anything that crossed my mind that there would ever be an issue in pregnancy. My second pregnancy We decided when my daughter was around 18 months old that we would try again. And it took about 6 months to get pregnant. So I would say, in the grand scheme of things, not a very long time. However, going through it at 6 months, by the time I got to that 6-month mark, I was getting a little anxious. Again, when I got pregnant, it was fine. There was no complications. My son was born a week late. No problems. Totally healthy, totally fine. No preeclampsia, no swelling. You would never even know that I was pregnant except for the fact that I had a very large baby hanging in the front, right? Third pregnancy of my own, again, took us about 6 months to get pregnant when we decided that we officially wanted to try. And the only difference was that this child was born a week early. And I, in a way, felt cheated that I didn't get my full 40 weeks of being pregnant. But then I kind of figured, okay, well, my second child was born a week late. My third child was born a week early. I guess in the grand scheme of things, it balances out. So as my son, my third child, turned just over a year-ish, my husband and I both said, we don't know if we're ready for another child. However, I love being pregnant. Like I said, I called it my superpower. So why not look into surrogacy? If I have such an easy time being pregnant and somebody else can't get pregnant, then this is like the best of both worlds. I even said selfishly, I get to be pregnant and then I get none of the waking up at night when the baby's born. I don't have to worry about changing diapers. I don't have to worry about school. Surrogacy to me was like the best and easiest decision I've ever made. So we started looking into it. And we found out that there was a lot of different rules that went along with it, both in the secular world and the religious world. We are Orthodox Jew. So it definitely was a combination of figuring out, making sure that the rabbis were okay with it and what that meant for my children, what that meant for us. How were my kids related to this child or this potential future child? Did we have to do it for another Jewish couple? What were all of those rules? So we went through all of that and we found out, yes, this was great. We could be a carrier for another couple. And we found through a series of very amazing coincidences, this couple that we matched with. And in December of 2019, I gave birth to their first child. Again, it was a very played by the book pregnancy. There was no preeclampsia. There was no diabetes. There was nothing except for the fact that this baby happened to be a lot bigger than my others because of the fact that genetically, the parents are very tall. So when the baby came out, he was a few inches bigger than what I was expecting and what I was used to. And I could feel it. I knew he was going to be bigger. I just didn't know how much bigger. And it was honestly the best birth I ever had. Well, we all know what happened in March of 2020. And it was one of those where we all knew that we wanted to do this again for the same couple. They wanted to have another child. I said I would have been honored to be a surrogate for them again. And we had to wait and wait and wait and wait because the doctors had to make sure that with everything that was going on, that both the baby would be safe and I would be safe. So in January of 2022, we were given the A-OK that we could carry again. And I went through all the medications. And until May, I went in for the IVF transfer. Everything was going swimmingly. It was perfect, just like my other pregnancies had gone. And at 16 weeks and 5 days, I went in for a checkup and there was no heartbeat. And my world instantly changed. That was my fifth pregnancy. And I had never experienced this kind of pain, this kind of deceit from my own body, this kind of panic that not only was I losing a child, but this couple was losing a child. And what was going to happen? So I was put in the hospital. I was forced into labor, unfortunately. The baby was delivered, and I had to spend 2 days in the hospital from excess bleeding and all that kind of stuff. And I questioned every decision. Every what if ran through my head, as it does for anybody who's gone through a trauma. What if I did this? What if I ate this? What if I didn't do this? What if I didn't eat this? And I kept cycling over and over and over, as we all do. And I finally got to the point where I said, I can't live in the what ifs. I have to start living in the what nows because I can't change what happened. And so I dug deep and I decided at that moment that I was going to create my inner strength warrior. Because what else was I going to do? If I spiraled and continued to ask what ifs, nothing was going to change. And I was going to be in a state of depression. I wasn't going to be able to be a mother to my own children. I wasn't going to be a wife to my husband. And I thought, this is the moment I have to change. I cannot change what happened, but I can change my outlook. And so I started looking into various different breathing exercises, and I looked into various different therapies, and I looked into various different ways that I could then build that inner strength warrior so that if God forbid something like this happens again, that I know I can fall back on those tools. And one of the things that I found that I thought was more important than anything else is to find your village. Find the people that you know you can lean on. Find the people that you know that you can just sit and be with. I have one friend who had experienced a miscarriage about 2 years before I went through it. And she would just sit with me. She didn't have to do anything. She didn't have to say anything. We both knew what the other one had gone through. And there were days where I would just sit for half an hour and I would cry. And she would sit there and give me a hug. And I remember saying to her at one point, I don't want our relationship to just be me crying all the time. And one of the things that she said to me that I found so powerful was, we'll laugh again. Don't worry. And we do. We laugh all the time now. It's been a year, and I treasure her friendship more than I could possibly even express in words. So find your village. Find the people that you know that you can just be you with. And in those times where you really need them, let them be there for you. It's okay to ask for help. Some of the other things that were really helpful were to find breathing exercises that I can practice before I get into the situation where I am then stuck saying, oh my gosh, I can't breathe. Your muscle memory can take over in those situations because of the fact that you've practiced. I'm not one for meditating. I'm not one for yoga, but I have found the square breathing method to be the most helpful thing that I've ever done. All you do is you find a count that you know that you can breathe in, you can hold your breath, you can breathe out, and you can hold your breath again. I use 4. So I breathe in for 4. I hold for 4. I breathe out for 4. And I hold for 4 again. And if I do that 3, 4, 5 times, it calms my heart, it calms my breathing, it makes the anxiety go away. And I can then take that deep breath and say, okay, I'm ready to face whatever it is comes next. I hope this has been helpful in starting to help you create your inner strength warrior. I hope that whatever trauma you're going through, whatever challenges you're going through, you can find that person to reach out to. If you want to reach out to me, you're more than welcome to. You can find me on Instagram at ours and yours. It's spelled ours, Ours, and AND, yours, YRS. It's actually my daughter's initials, ours and yours. And I hope that this was helpful for you. Again, feel free to reach out. And for whatever you're going through, you can do it.
Hi, everyone. I am super excited to be here with you. My name is Kimberly Henry, and I am the memoir writing expert. And as someone who was raised with 2 alcoholic parents and experienced domestic violence as a child, and then repeated those patterns with relationships in my life over and over and over again, numerous times with different men in my life, with friendships, learning, enabling, and realizing how much codependency was in my life, I am here to speak with you about finding the silver lining. So in those times where life feels so challenging, so difficult, where is the silver lining? Like, how is it even possible to find a silver lining sometimes in our life? And what I'm going to share with you really quick are some simple tips on finding the silver lining in your life. And like I said, as someone who was raised by 2 alcoholic parents, For years, I went through life as a victim, that everything was happening to me until I did the inner work on myself and chose to see that life was happening for me, and that I'm choosing gratitude as a way of I am who I am today because of being raised by two alcoholic parents. And so, tip one is gratitude. What are you grateful for? Even in those times where life feels so difficult, so challenging, and you're feeling like you're ready to give up because bills aren't getting paid, because maybe your car is being repossessed, because you're not happy in your job, you're feeling unfulfilled and unhappy in your relationships, whether it's an intimate, whether it's friendships, whatever it is in your life, what are you grateful for? Because when you choose gratitude, it shifts the whole dynamic of your perception of your life. And so I am so happy to say that today I am truly grateful for having been raised by two alcoholic parents, because it really got me to understand different things about life and what I'm grateful for today, and how it is my purpose and my mission to always get people to see that they are seen, that they are loved, and that they are heard. That is my whole purpose. And whenever I interact with people, and I'm grateful for that, because if I had not had the experience of feeling unloved, feeling unheard, and feeling unseen, I feel that it wouldn't be my mission today, so that people get that they are seen, heard, and loved. And so again, it's choosing gratitude. You can choose to be unhappy, and you can choose to be grateful. And I know some of you are like, what are you talking about? Like, when you're so unhappy and you're looking at it from a certain filter, I'm sure you're thinking, what are you talking about? How can I possibly be grateful for all the things that are happening in my life? And how is it a choice? Like, you may be asking, how is this even a choice? And really, it comes down to it is a choice. You can choose to be grateful. You can choose to be happy, or you can choose to be unhappy and choose to be unfulfilled. That's tip one. Tip two is mindfulness. When I chose to have daily practices that served me and lifted me up, everything shifted in my life. And because I chose to make myself a priority, and as I said, I was raised by two alcoholic parents. I can remember being as young as 4 or 5 years old, feeling like the world was on my shoulders. I felt responsible for everyone. And when I chose to take responsibility for myself and my care and my practices, then I was able to carry myself in a different way through life. And so, what are the practices that you're choosing for yourself? For me, it was stretching and meditation and journaling. Those are three things, significant things, that completely changed my way of being with going through life and seeing the silver lining of what was happening for me, not to me. And so a daily practice could be something similar to mine. Are you stretching every day? Are you meditating? And if you're not meditating, what kind of stories are coming up for you about meditation? Because for myself, I was resistant to meditation before going to school and being coached on it. And so what it really came down to for me is the reason I was resistant to it was because I was always trying to change what was happening when I was in meditation. When I first started, I'd fall asleep. I love guided meditations. And so listening to the voices, especially certain voices, it would lull me and I would fall asleep. And so then I'd feel bad and I had a whole perception about it and I was trying to change it the next time I did it. When I finally came to acceptance and just being with it, allowing myself, then it was okay. And so It is about what you're choosing again for yourself. And so the meditation allows a certain mindfulness, and the mindfulness is about awareness. And when you can be aware of what it is happening within yourself, then the outside world changes. And meditation is just one of those practices that can support with that. And honestly, meditation is so many things. It's not just a guided meditation. It's not only constantly. Meditation is simply even just using your fingers and feeling the ridges of your fingers. So you see how I'm rubbing those two fingers together and I'm feeling the ridges. That is a meditation. Using your nostrils and breathing out one side, and then close the other side and breathe. By exhaling all of the air on each nostril, that is a meditation. So there's different ways that you can meditate. And then journaling. Journaling can look like so many different things. It can look like starting your day with what you're grateful for. So that's one way of being in gratitude. It can look like listing 5 things that you're grateful for with starting your day. And what would you like to accomplish that day? What are your goals? And even just journaling about what's on your mind with what is important to you. And then it could look like journaling at the end of the day with what are you grateful for again for the end of the day? What are you acknowledging about yourself? Whether it's your ways of being, whether it's what you accomplished, whether it's something that you received from another person. So, for example, today I have a job that I work at, and I was able to support a patient. I work at a chiropractor's office, and I was able to support a patient, and I just did it because it's what I like to do, and I wanted to make his life easier and so I checked him in early and before the office even opened so that he was able to go right into the doctor because I knew that he had traveling plans. And so he then he chose to then support me with offering to pay for my lunch. And so I'm in gratitude tonight because I had an extremely long day today of 9 hours of work. And I get to be here with all of you. And I got to receive that from him because he was grateful for what I did for him to support him. And so journaling can look anything like that. Writing your gratitude. What are your goals? What are you acknowledging yourself for? What do you acknowledge in other people? Where do you want to be? Where do you want to go? It can look anything like that. And so those are my tips on seeing the silver lining in your life. And by me working on that personally, like I said, I'm sitting here with all of you, and I am truly grateful for all of the experiences that I had in my life, including being raised by 2 alcoholics, including experienced homelessness at a teenage years and around 16, 17, including domestic violence as a child, domestic violence when I had my daughter, and being a single mom. I have been a single mom for, oh my gosh, 20, oof, wow, 25 years. I've been a single mom and gone through it, raising her on my own, and gone through hellacious times with her father, who was an addict. I am grateful for all of that. Because again, the silver lining is I would not be here with you doing what I do if I had not experienced all of that. And it is my mission to support all of you with seeing how life is working for you and not to you. And thank you so much for being here, and namaste.
You just hate that when you're going through a crap situation, people will look at you and honestly say, oh, it'd be great if you could look on the bright side. There is always a silver lining. Now, I think the reason that we get so pissed is because it's actually true. And we are so in the crap that we are dealing with, we don't have the bandwidth to acknowledge that there is something positive out of the horrible situation that we are in. But there always is. There always is a bright side and something to look forward to and something we can learn from situations. The problem is that we don't have perspective, or most likely we got to clean off the crap before we can see the actual bright side. It's a little smudged. My name is Lily McNamara, and I am a psychic spiritual advisor and owner of Lily of the Light. And I have had countless silver linings in my life. And in fact, most of the worst situations and experiences that I have had silver linings, and they turned out to be the glimmers of awesomeness that I needed to create the life that I have now, which, to be honest, quite fond of my life right now, rocking it hardcore. With a smattering of magic and pixie dust and a little bit of luck, I have been able to make some of the worst situations work in my favor, absolutely. Now, that's not to say that I enjoyed these or recommend that that is the way that you learn. I am just saying that I was able to find silver lining and I'm able to use it in my everyday life. The examples that I'm going to give you and talk about today from my life are two main ones. One that I was born with, so there was no other choice but to learn the silver lining. And the second one, I had no control over. And so I had to submit to the universe to know what was best for me, to be able to find what it actually was meant to teach me. So the first one that I was born with is that I am neurospicy. For those of you who do not know what that means, I'm neurodivergent. My brain is just wired a tad differently than other people's, which makes me a little bit different and see things in a different way. Most people who are neurodivergent or neurospicy are ADHD, autism, and the like. Those are my people. We rock it hardcore. We solidarity, people. And you're born with it. You can't help it. You can't cure it. It's just something that your brain is wired differently. And we see the world differently, and it makes everything 100% harder. It makes life and hurdles and misunderstanding just things that happen way too often, and way more often than I even want to acknowledge right now. All of my life, I felt like everyone else had a hidden manual and the cheat codes where I was just struggling with the mundane and simplest tasks. And it became very disheartening to look around and see everyone who was normal being able to do things that I could not accomplish, even if I was like rocking it my best life on a good day. Now, I would not change this for anything now that I know my silver lining and see what's going on with my life. I am able to see things differently and not fumble around and struggle. I am brilliant. I got some sexy gray matter up here, by the way. It is fabulous. I think in multidimensional space and time. I'm able to see countless outcomes to situations and be able to see things in a way that I can track scenarios back to their source to better understand what is going on. Once I stopped looking at everyone else and just focused on me, I gained perspective. Once I stopped trying to do everything the normal way and started doing it the way that made sense to me without shame, doing weird solutions that no one really seemed to understand, my life got so much easier. And it made it so much better for me to be able to do things that way. And when I finally leaned into my strengths of being neurodivergent, I was unstoppable. As a psychic spiritual advisor, I am able to help my clients with customized solutions to their problems because I'm able to see things from a different perspective. I'm able to look at things in a weird way and find the solutions that not everybody thinks about. I'm able to hyper focus for hours at a time, accomplishing tasks that most people would find really daunting, and be able to achieve far more in a day than the average person as long as I don't get distracted, though distraction is still very real. I am also an incredibly intense person because of being neurodivergent, and I have an extreme sense of enthusiasm, so even the dullest activities become amazing to me. I do have a brushing a teeth song that includes dance movements. Oh yes, it's real. I love it. I do it with kids. It is fabulous. But no matter what it is, I will do it 100%. I think everything should be fun. Once I found my silver lining, my life was easier. Once I found my silver lining with being neurodivergent, I was happier and more productive, not just in my business and helping my clients, but in my daily life. which is something that, if you guys don't know, is incredibly difficult for people who are neurodivergent to have like their daily lives and chores be taken care of in a way that their brain can handle. I have mastered that. I am super proud. My silver lining rocks. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the one that happened to me. The one that happened to me is I got sick when I was 14 years old. My immune system crashed. It never recovered. And I didn't know what to do. I had my adolescence stolen from me by illness and doctors and treatments. And I had no idea what it was like to be sick and handle that as a child. And then to grow up not knowing what it was like to be healthy as an adolescent or even as an adult. My life stopped. Everything changed, and I had no control over it. I had to understand that my body was going to make decisions for me, and I just had to go along with it no matter what. How my body reacted and what would be taken next, I had no clue. And not going to lie, this one took me a while, because sometimes finding your silver lining, especially when things are out of control, takes a hot minute, and you just have to be okay with that. Finding the silver lining, took a while, and that's okay. But you want to know what it was? You want to know what I learned, what I use, what I specialize in, what I built a career on? Self-care. Because I got sick when I was 14. Because I did not have a choice. Because I changed my life to fit my silver lining. And I am able to have a sustainable life full of health and well-being, prioritizing myself until I thrived. And now I help other people thrive too. I love it. I would not change it. This is something that most people don't learn until they're middle-aged, if ever. Putting yourself first and resting without shame is not something society allows us to do. And so being able to learn that at such a young age really helped me to enrich my life. And I think that that is a huge part of why I am the way I am, and I'm as awesome as I am. I still have flaws, but this is not one of them. Self-care is not one of them. Being able to use in-depth self-care, not just bubble baths and pedicures, but deep, fulfilling self-care has helped me with my career when I wasn't even supposed to be able to have a part-time job. Doctors told me I would never work and I should just go on disability and give up. I was able to advocate for myself and my needs in every situation, being my authentic self and rocking my authentic self every single day. I'm able to notice when my self-care routine needs to change because life inevitably evolves and we need to change with it. Otherwise, we're just going to get stuck and kind of screwed over in that kind of sense. I thrive in an amazing life I could have never have dreamed of because of my illness. I like to change things to make them a positive, and I think that everyone should strive to do that. Now, don't get me wrong. Crap situations are crap no matter what, but you can usually find a silver lining in that, and it's incredibly challenging. And yet I wouldn't have given this opportunity for anything. It is amazing. What I want to talk about next is the tips and tricks that I use to find silver lining. The most frequent question is asked is how? How do I find my silver lining? Where do I even start to look? Well, there are several ways, but let's start small and easy so that it's manageable and sustainable for you to find the silver lining in your own life. Because you can. It's being able to use this and implement it in a way that even on your busiest day, you'll be able to achieve this. And it's simply by adding and subtracting. Let's start with subtracting because let's face it, you need room to grow. And the thing that you're doing most is cock blocking your own happiness, which is so true. We all do it. No shame, no shame. We all do it. We all are the biggest hindrance of our own happiness, and we will self-sabotage with our worry-filled brains at every turn. First thing you're going to do is remove your victim mindset, the poor, poor, pitiful me of it all. With this also comes removing everything is my fault. And also the I deserve bad things to happen to me because insert completely ridiculous, irrelevant, and toxic self-hatred here. There is no reason that you don't deserve happiness and epic love and life and just rock star behavior because that is what you are destined for. What I want you to add is the lucky girl and gratitude mentality. If you've seen it on TikTok, it's absolutely funny and hilarious, and it's true, and it works. So every time something good happens, whether it's big or small, you say this. I prefer to say it out loud, but I'm a little extra. Everything goes my way. Say it with a little sass, and it gets so much better. Let the energy push you. With the everything goes my way lucky girl mentality, I want you to have an attitude of gratitude. Now, most habits for people who aren't neurodivergent take 21 days to create. I like doing things in 28 days because I'm metaphysical and it's a full moon cycle and we love that. So in 28 days, show gratitude for at least 3 things every single day. You can have it be themed. You can have it be anything you want, things that come up. This will create a habit and change your energy at the same time. This will allow the silver lining to be more clear and readily available to acknowledge when things turn sour. And it's easier to do it when things are less messy. And then when things get hard, you already have the habit created. And if we're being honest, life happens and things get sour more often than we care to admit. Lastly, I want you to think about perspective. This is the one that I love the most. Add an extra dose of this deliciousness to everything you do. And I do mean everything. Every task, every person, every situation, every freaking thing. Twist and turn until you can see exactly how you are meant to use this, whatever this is, in your life for your benefit, and think outside the box. Get weird with it. When searching, know that there are different kinds of silver lining. There's the cause and effect, and it's a lovely theory that is based on the end result. So you have a crap situation and then the end result is amazing. You forgot your water bottle when you went to the state fair. You became dehydrated. You collapsed. You ruined the entire trip for everyone. But then you met a paramedic and they happen to be the love of your life, and that is awesome. Know that sometimes the silver lining is completely out of left field and unexpected, so be open to the unexpected when finding your silver lining. Another option is the silver lining that has nothing to do with the root issue of the experience. In conclusion, I urge you to change your perspective. Be open to seeing the silver lining and fabulousness that could create your life. I know I did, and I have no regrets. It has helped me to create my life, my self-care, and my career exactly the way that I want it. And that's all I want for you too. And remember that if you would like help with this, I will be your biggest cheerleader. You need to do it upright. You need to make sure that you are not just surviving and getting by, that you are thriving and creating the life that is so amazing that you could not live without it. I urge you to think that you deserve this. I urge you to embrace the fact that the silver lining can be the thing that can change your life. So my name is Lily McNamara, and I hope you all have a great day. Don't forget to be the hero of your own story.
Welcome back, everybody. My name is Julie DeLucca-Collins. I hope you loved every single speaker. I am so glad that you are here. I am touched, excited. Are you? Of course. Why wouldn't we be? Could you believe some of the things that our speakers have been through? And by the way, I don't feel alone listening to everything that they have shared. That has been such a special and incredible experience that creates that optimism in me. I hope that it created optimism in you as well. Connect with us. All of the information on how to find the speakers and how to connect with them is going to be in the chat. I also want you to follow and subscribe so you can continue to get these incredible content for you. Thank you for being here. And until again, our next video, this is Julie with the Purposeful You Summit.